open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight, dripping light.
right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in, Big Dog Brett. Today we're going to be today we're going to be talking about the top college football rankings. We're going to be doing a little bit of talking about LSU. We're also going to do some talk about Texas A&M. So we'll cover some of that stuff as we go along here. I'm seeing a little bit of a live stream issue, some lag here, so bear with me, guys. I'm not sure what the problem is, but hopefully it'll clear up soon. All right, guys. So, first off, let's go ahead and jump into the top 25 here and kind of just see what we've got there right now. I may change some of the lighting here in a second. It seems kind of dark in here. Let's see if we can get a little more light. Still not quite there. All right, stand by. All right. That's a little better. All right, I'm not sitting in the dark anymore. Well, I'm kind of, but all right, let's before we get into the top 25, let's see who we've got here today. Looks like we've got Bearded Dog as usual. OG Fran, what's going on? Excuse me. Matthew Bulldogs, James Willoughby, what's up, brother? Dwayne RDR, Tiger Raven, Lloyd Dog, and Brian Denny Stadium, man. How's it going, guys? We're definitely going to do a little bit of talking about Tua, and but first, let me go ahead and jump into this top 25, and then we'll kind of get into Tua, my thoughts and how I feel on that whole situation there. So, college football rankings obviously came out yesterday, as you guys know. Typically, I'll do a Wednesday show and kind of go over my thoughts on that sort of thing. I just got a instant message here. Stand by. So some of my I guess you would say close friends, people that know my personal cell phone number, have sent me some text messages and stuff saying that they're not getting the notifications whenever the shows go live or whenever I'm making a video. So double check. I'm not sure if YouTube is I don't know if there's like a timer that makes you guys unsubscribe to the alerts or how that works, but if you would jump in and hit that subscribe button, not subscribe, the alert button, notification bell, whatever it is they call it. I just want to make sure you guys don't miss anything. Okay, so top 25, LSU, OSU, Clemson, and Georgia. We're going to talk more about those guys later, so we're going to jump past that. Alabama number 5, Oregon 6, Utah 7, Penn State number 8, Oklahoma number 9, Minnesota coming in at number 10. The Gators have moved up to 11, Wisconsin at 12, Michigan 13, Baylor at 14. I got a little bit of an issue there, but whatever. Auburn at 15, Notre Dame 16, Iowa at 17. Those guys are sneaking up. Yeah, sometimes the bell doesn't work. I don't know, Prince. It's weird. Memphis has actually moved up to the number 18 spot, and I'm not sure the last time that those guys were in the top 20. But it's possible. After a couple of more games, those guys might be able to move up into the top 15. We'll just kind of see how it plays. Hey, what's going on, Dennis Wilson? Welcome back to the channel, bro. Flex Dog Gaming, how's it going, man? Welcome back to the channel. Then Cincinnati, and I've seen stuff all over the board about Cincinnati. Those guys, I don't know if that's what you would call a legitimate top 20 team. But it's just been so many bad losses this year. It's kind of hard to nail anybody to any one spot. And then it gets really weird, right? So then we get to Boise State. Goodness gracious. Hold on, let me pull this up here because there's a stat here I wanted to look up. Yeah, definitely prayers for Tua, man. Even though I'm not an Alabama fan, I don't want to see what happened to that young man happen to anybody. That is absolutely horrible. That is potentially a career-ending injury. For those of you who don't know, Tua suffered I believe it was a hip dislocation with a wall fracture. Same kind of injury, similar kind of injury to what, um, similar kind of injury as to what ended Bo Jackson's career. So we certainly don't want to see that. Anyway, number 21, Oklahoma State. And then we got Iowa State. And then we got Southern Cal, Appalachian State, and SMU rounding off the top 25. Looking at these guys, the records are kind of weird because you've got Boise State ranked at number 20. And then all the way up, you've got Auburn with 3 losses and Iowa with 3 losses. So it's just kind of weird to look down and see, like, you've got SMU at 9-1, and then you got USC at 7-4, and they're ranked number 23. It kind of tells you how weird it gets this late in the season. So it is kind of a difficult job to sit down and decipher among these who is the best of the best, who's the most elite. One of the things I did want to point out is that there is clearly been a difference in how well Georgia is being perceived or received as a brand. Traditionally, it would have been very difficult to get Georgia recognized above Alabama, and I'm not saying there's any bias there. I'm just saying due to the amount of accolades that Alabama has acquired in the past 10 years or so, to be ranked above Alabama with the same record as Alabama is certainly an accomplishment. So, BDS, we're not in playoff form right now, that's for sure. Alabama certainly has some quality guys on there. I don't know if Mac is going to be able to do everything that you want him to do. He is certainly not Tua, but it does show the importance of having a quarterback like Tua. In the second half of that game against Mississippi State, I believe it was, there was only 3 points scored. Was that because Mac was not ready? If he wasn't ready, why wasn't he ready? He should have realized that Tua had been suffering through injuries. They should have realized that was going to be tough for him to play that full game, and it was likely that he was going to come out. So that's kind of the way I feel about that. All right, so there was absolutely no need whatsoever for Tua to play in that game, in my opinion. I still believe Alabama could have won that game without Tua by simply handing the ball off and making short screen passes. I really do. I really, really do. And so to me, I think that was a bad judgment call on Nick Saban's part. Yes, I'm gonna put him on blast, as they say. There was no need for Tua to risk injury in that game, especially if Alabama wanted to look at potentially being a college football playoff contender if things went right, or even getting to a national championship if things go right. It's clear that Tua is a national championship caliber quarterback. He's won a national championship. He's played in others. He doesn't fold under the pressure. The guy has tons of poise. But unfortunately, Nick Saban put him in this game, and that was a bad idea. Hopefully he's able to recover, but it is not going to be this year. I don't know what they're going to do with him next year. I don't know if he'll transfer. I'm not sure. I don't think anybody is sure at this point as to what's going to happen with Tua. What I am sure of is that Saban is probably scrambling like mad right now trying to find another reputable quarterback to fill those shoes. I don't know who they have in the funnel as far as the recruiting board. I haven't looked at it, but I don't think they have a 5-star sitting in there now. And let's not forget that Ohio State got into the playoffs with the backup quarterback Cordell Jones in 2014, and they still won the national title. That's absolutely true. Jacob Eason went down. Jake Fromm comes in. We go play for a national title. Kelly Bryant loses his job to Trevor Lawrence to go play and win a national title. It's not saying that a backup can't do the job. Hey, what's going on, Keith? Welcome back to the channel, man. Glad to have you on. Are you getting the alerts, or did you just get the text message? Dennis, to address your comment here, trying to pad Heisman stats with the race being so close. I'm not sure that Nick Saban was really after a Heisman trophy for the locker room, but I feel like that I don't really feel like there was a way that he could have won a Heisman this year, having played Joe Burrow's heads up, head to head, face to face, and lose. That's just that would be extremely odd. I mean, if LSU is going to play in the SEC championship, Georgia's going to play in the SEC championship. One of those teams is going to win. One of those teams is going to go to college football playoff. I mean, it's even possible that Georgia beats LSU and LSU still gets in the college football playoff. Because by that time, Georgia will be ranked, probably still be ranked number 4. At that point, Ohio State would move up to 2. Clemson would move up to, Ohio would move to 1. Clemson would move to 2. Georgia would move to 3. And I highly believe LSU would just go to number 4 with their win over Alabama, preventing Alabama from taking over that number 4 spot. I don't believe Oregon could take over that spot, considering that their strength of schedule is nowhere near what LSU will have played to that point. And so I think Georgia would go to number 3, LSU would go to number 4. That would put Ohio State playing LSU in the 1st seed and Georgia playing Clemson as the 2nd and 3rd seed. So what's going on, Carson Hollis? Excuse me. It's absolutely possible that would end up just like it did a couple of years ago as far as the game play out, where Georgia would end up playing an SEC opponent again in the national championship. But I believe this would be the first year that two championship teams would end up playing each other for the national championship. So it would be pretty interesting how that would play out. Yeah, it does sound like some BCS crap, don't it? But unfortunately, if you put it down on paper, that's kind of the way it would play out. No matter what happens between Ohio State and Clemson now, neither one of those guys' schedule has anything that's going to change how Ohio State's going to be viewed if they went out, or how Clemson's going to be viewed if they went out. They're going to stay one ahead of the other just like they are now. The only thing that's going to change is LSU Georgia. One of them is going to change positions, if not both. If LSU loses to Georgia, Georgia's going to go to 3, LSU's going to go to 4. That's going to put Ohio State at number 1, LSU at number 4. They'll play in the first game. Now, it's possible that Ohio State could beat LSU and Georgia could beat Clemson, and then you would see a matchup between Jake Fromm and Justin Fields for the national championship. And boy, wouldn't that be a story to be told. At Georgia, as a Georgia fan, you would realize at that point, and we probably are looking at Ohio State being in a national championship. If it stays the way it is now, which it's impossible that it would, Ohio State would, in my opinion, probably beat Clemson just because their defense is incredible and they've played some tougher opponents. They probably would beat Clemson. Clemson is improving right now and coming on strong. I guess it's taking that long for the steroids to kick back in, but I do think it would be Ohio State and then whoever between LSU and Georgia. But Keith says, question is, if UGA beats LSU convincingly, do they jump Clemson and OSU to go to number 1? I don't think so. I could envision where an Ohio State would go to 1 and maybe Georgia would go to a 2 just based off of strength of schedule. But I think that the I think the College Football Playoff Committee values that undefeated mark a lot more than strength of schedule and those other things. But I'd love to see UGA go to number 1 again. What I am happy to see is I believe this is the 3rd year in a row that UGA has been ranked in the college football playoffs. They would have an outstanding resume at that point, having beaten at least 3 top 15 teams. They would have a win over an SEC champion, which was ranked number 1. There would be some legitimacy to that claim. Big Dog Brett says, "Stop dreaming. Nobody want to see that matchup." I guess you mean wants to see that matchup. But I can tell you, if I had to pick a team right now to play, if you had to tell me I had to play against Joe Burrow, play against Justin Fields, or play against Clemson, I'll pick Clemson every time. And anybody that's got any sense would pick Clemson every time. I don't believe LSU would rather play Georgia than Clemson. I believe LSU would relish the chance to play Clemson over Georgia or Ohio State. I just believe it'd be an easier win. Do I think Auburn could beat Alabama? Yes, I do. At this point, and the reason I do is because of the quarterback situation. Georgia has one of the best defenses in the country, but Bo Nix is a pretty decent quarterback. But I think it's Auburn's defense that would probably pose a problem. I think number one gets to pick which bowl location they play in for the semifinal. I think you're right, and I think it's they're obviously going to want to pick something that's closer to them than away. So, who are my dream matchups in the playoffs? Who would I love? Who would I like to play, Jason? Honestly, believe it or not, out of all the teams listed on the board here, I would love to play Alabama again. I'd love to see that UGA defense stack up against Alabama's offense. I'd love to see that. It's going to be similar playing against LSU, but man, I think every Georgia fan, because the last two times we've played them has been so close, I think that they want to. I think they absolutely want to see that rematch. But if I had to pick a dream matchup in the playoffs, I would start out wanting to play against Clemson, and then whomever's left would probably be. I would probably want to play against LSU because I can see the stats of how LSU played against Auburn. And I think that Georgia would probably have its best chance at a national championship if UGA beats Clemson and then plays LSU for the national championship. Auburn beats Bama. We move to 6 to end our year. Where's Auburn ranked right now? 15? Man, that would be a huge jump. I mean, if you're looking at a jump like that, that would make Auburn what? 8, 9 and 3. You'd still have to beat out an Oklahoma team, which is likely to be 10 and 1 or 11 and 1 by the time you get there. Same thing with Penn State, possibly the same thing with Utah. I think Utah has to play one of these teams down here, but I mean you're talking about a huge jump, and I just don't see a way. They can jump that far up. I mean, whenever they jumped, was it Baylor? They jumped Baylor from like 25 to whatever it was, way up in it was like 18 or something. It was one of the biggest jumps that had ever been made in college football ranking that late in the season. That'd be incredible. So how's the sound? Is the sound coming in pretty clear, guys? I gotta keep checking on this thing. Sometimes it says I have good stream health. Sometimes it says I don't. So one of the things I've noticed, let's see, yeah. Do you think if Auburn beats Georgia, do you think if Auburn beat Georgia, do you think Auburn would have made it into the playoffs? No, because even if Auburn beat Georgia, Georgia still could have clinched. And then if we play you again in a national championship and you lose there, you're obviously out. But at that point, Georgia would have been a 2-loss team, so your win over Georgia would not have been as strong. So it's hard to say. Big Dawg, UGA couldn't stop Travis Etienne in no playoff game, man. What is the average amount of rushing yards Georgia has allowed so far per game? I think it's like something crazy like 2.3 yards a carry. Even if Travis Etienne could double that, which I don't believe is possible, it still wouldn't be enough to make a dramatic difference in a game like that. You would have to rely on Trevor Lawrence to beat UGA with his arm, which I do believe he is entirely capable of doing, considering how much Georgia struggles with the pass defense sometimes. But I don't believe that Travis Etienne or Najee Harris or Jonathan Taylor or any other running back you can name is going to create a significant problem for UGA. I appreciate you jumping on too, man. Preseason was tough on Bama. We lost Moses, McMillan, and Sanders before the season started. Yeah, but roll back to last year, Dwayne. I mean, whenever UGA played against, or whenever you guys played in your first playoff game, you guys were missing like 5 or 6 of your linebackers, man. It was incredible. Clemson would like to play Georgia. You're in the playoffs. Who cares who you play? Taking the guy in front of you, and may the best team win. I agree. J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, I'm not worried about him either. Travis Etienne versus DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift, even though we haven't been creating these big flashy runs, I mean, he's still over 1,000 yards on the season, and we're, 10 games in? He's averaging over 100 yards a game. I mean, honestly, this is probably the worst running offense I've seen at UGA in years. I mean, honestly, Georgia's running offense, we're not. I'm used to seeing Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley. I'm used to seeing. Sony Michel. I'm used to seeing Georgia rip off a 20, 30, or 40-yard run often. And I'm not seeing that this year. What I am seeing is consistency between Brian Herrien and DeAndre Swift being able to run the ball. I don't believe any team in the NCAA could run over UGA on the ground. I just don't. That defense is absolutely incredible, considering that we have played at this point. We've played Notre Dame, who's currently ranked 16. We've played Auburn, who's currently ranked 15, and we've played Florida, who's currently ranked 11. Now, taking into considerations that the only reason that they're ranked that low is because they've all suffered a loss at the hands of UGA. So those teams could realistically, if you take Georgia out of the equation and we played them tomorrow, they'd all be ranked much higher. That's how good those teams are, and that's how good Georgia's run defense is. You know, the couple of times that we saw DeAndre, you're right, Keith. The couple of times we saw DeAndre Swift get to the edge, I mean, he was absolutely incredible with the way that he plays. The guy has incredibly elite speed, and I've actually seen Brian Herrien hit some bursts of speed that I really didn't know he was capable of. I mean, it legitimately caught me off guard seeing that guy move like that. It was pretty intense. Yeah, defensive stats are why people keep thinking UGA defense is great. Just pull the SC tape. Listen, the guys that sit in the room for the College Football Playoff Committee know more about football than probably everybody in here combined, including myself. And whenever those guys will say, even before, a week ago, they said, yeah, we understand that one loss is kind of a fluke thing. The defense still did its job. The offense just didn't do its job. Even in a game where we lost, UGA still only allowed, 17 points in regulation? Or 14 points in regulation, something like that, something ridiculous. Good Lord. Why don't you ask Auburn about how good Georgia's defense is? They were absolutely scoreless until about halfway through the fourth quarter when Georgia started playing prevent defense. It was incredible. Georgia has a great defense, but how would that compare to the OSU offense? Okay, so let me pull up a stat that let me do this for you guys. I want to pull up a stat, and I'm going to read this to you guys because I went and dug this up and found it myself. The quality of the stream may lag for a second while I'm pulling this up, but just bear with me. Okay, so for those of you who have never, 17 regulation. So for those of you who don't know, I watch tons of YouTube content creators, videos, and one of them is College Football Nerds. And I was kind of getting into a back and forth with them where these guys were, and they've been wrong about UGA pretty much every week. One of them's always guessed, or I won't say one of them's always guessed. One of them will usually guess UGA wins, and one guesses they lose. Dennis Wilson, but who has UGA played? We've played some good teams. Talking about how college football scoring has changed. Talking about how you've got to score more than 30 points to win a national championship. And while it is helpful to score more than 30 points, allow me to read off a stat that I found. And this is important. Defense matters. And I'm not going to name the teams. I'm just going to name the year, and I'm going to name the score. And what I want you to pay attention to is the the team that got beat, the lower score, I want you to pay attention to that. So this is going from 1998 to 2018, and I'm going to leave out 99, 02, 05, 07, 2013, and 2015. And I'm going to read every year except those 4 or 5. Okay? 1998, 23 to 16. 2000, 13 to 2. 2001, 37-14, and then 21-14 for 03, 04, 55 to 19, 41-14, 24-14, 37 to 21, 22 to 19, 2011 national championship score 21 to 0, and then 42 to 14, 42 to 20, and then where UGA lost 26 to 23, and then in 2018 44 to 16. Every one of these teams here that I have listed, every one of these scores of the team that's lost, only one team has scored more than 21 points, and they only scored 23. So here's the losing score total. 16s, 21, 14, 14, 19, 14, 14, 21, 19, 0, 14, 20, 23, 16. What does that tell you? That tells you that defense absolutely matters. So if you've got a team, yeah, that was weird as a freaking safety. That tells you that you don't have to, loser scored 21 or less except for a handful of years. And some people say, well, the college football playoff changed all that. No, football hasn't changed that much in the past 4 or 5 years. I'm sorry, it has not. Clemson, bro, I just said I skipped a handful of years, which was 99, 02, 05, 07, 13, and 15. Those were the years I skipped. Every other year since 1998, this is the scores of those games. In other words, the games where you saw a high-scoring game were the outliers. Those were the ones that just kind of happen here and there. But it doesn't set a baseline. I mean, if you have a team that can I'll put it to you this way. If either one of those teams, like where it was Bama or Clemson, if either one of those teams had held the other team to 21 points, they'd have won. So to me, if you have a team that can hold other teams under 17 points a game, what's Georgia averaging right now opponent scores? 9 points? Something like that. I mean, that's incredible. Ohio State is another one who's doing an incredible job of low-scoring games. So you're going to see a matchup between a defense and an offense, and that's what's fun to watch. I think a lot of UGA fans are actually kind of aggravated that we're not able to have this flashy offense, kind of like what we're used to with Aaron Murray or Matt Stafford or those guys. But, I mean, the old saying is defense wins championships for a reason. If you go back and you look at the Alabama games of old, you will see that the Alabama games of old were not high-scoring games when they won these national championships. They just weren't. Why is that? Because, hey, how's it going, Iceberg players? Hey, congratulations on that jersey you got from Uncle Lou, man. I saw that. If you have a team that can consistently score or prevent the team from scoring very many points, you don't have to put a ton of points on the board. And pretty much every game we've scored in, it's not like the defense was stopping us. It just looked like we were running a game plan where we were only trying to score 30 points or so. And nobody was really able to stop us. If Auburn beats Alabama, do you think they would make a New Year's Six bowl? I don't know. Keith is absolutely right. If UGA... If somebody scores over us, what's up, Brian Harrion? Oh, what's going on, buddy? Welcome back to the channel, man. Congratulations on that awesome, amazing win, and still, I would be celebrating that incredible catch you had, sir. So one of the things that I've consistently noticed about UGA's offense here recently is that UGA seems to be just focused on scoring just enough points to win almost. All right, so let me go back to a game here. Let me go this on us. So when we played against Missouri, which was a shutout, right? I want to go over some of those stats real quick, just so you kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. A 99 offense versus a 99 defense. I agree. That would be an incredible game. All right, so I'll tell you what. Let's go back. Let's actually go back to the Florida game where it was 24-17 until late in the game. It was 24-17. So if you want to look at the box scores, which is what I'm going to look at, and normally I'm not a big fan of just studying the box scores or the team stats, but let's talk about it. What's going on, Doggy Jones? So the thing I want to look at is Georgia's offense. Let me find it real quick. Time of possession for UGA was 35 minutes, 48 seconds, versus Florida only had the ball for 24-12. UGA had 20 first downs and Florida had 18. I think that's with Georgia getting almost 400 yards. Florida got 120 yards less than Georgia, but only had 2 less first downs. I think that's because Georgia is going to they're picking up first downs and there's not as many explosive plays, which is why you see less first downs but a higher yardage. And this time of total offense, I just think that UGA is going to continue to do that to everybody they play. What's going on, Glenn? Yep. Yeah, our last national championship, which was the same year I was born, was, granted, Herschel Walker did his job, but it took a lot more than just that. What's up, Jalil? Man, what is going on with this thing right now? All right, so let's get off the Dogs a minute. We can sit there and talk about the Dogs all night, but one of there's 2 things that I do want to talk about, and one of them is I want to talk about Texas A&M and I want to talk about Clemson. So when Clemson played the Aggies, Clemson was ranked number 1 in the country, and the Aggies were ranked number 12. I think that the Aggies were maybe a little bit overranked, but I don't think incredibly overranked. Right on, Jalil. 80 was a good year for me. If you look at the box score on this game, Texas A&M actually possessed the ball 32 minutes, 36 seconds versus Clemson only had it for 27. But Clemson had 26 first downs. A&M only had 18. Clemson again had 100 more yards than A&M. How does that happen? See, Keith says our plan to beat LSU has to be stingy defense and long methodical drives to limit LSU's offensive potential. Yes, we've got to keep Joe Burrows off the field because every time you put a football in that guy's hands, it's dangerous living. 1980 Mark Richt was throwing pick 6 interceptions. That's probably true too. Yeah, we definitely have to keep the ball away from him. If you look at Texas A&M's schedule, their schedule has really been kind of interesting. The losses they have taken have been to Clemson and Auburn and Alabama. But Alabama allowed these guys to score 28 points. Auburn allowed them to score 20. So Georgia scored, was it 21 points on Auburn? Texas A&M scored 20 points on Auburn. Looking at this, I can kind of say that I think that their offense is probably in line with what Georgia's is, but their defense is not. But I certainly don't want Georgia to sleep on Texas A&M. Looking at that Clemson game, And looking at some of the other games they played, I mean, even when they played Auburn, they didn't necessarily have a great game for the most part, but then they kind of came alive in the fourth quarter. They scored 17 points out of their 20 points in the fourth quarter. So it tells you they're not going to give up. The one thing that's bad about their team is that their quarterback, Mond, is an integral part of their offense. And his job is to try and run the ball. There hasn't been a quarterback or a running back or anybody all year that's really been able to run the ball against Georgia. So I don't see how in the world Kellen Mond is going to be able to help them out against us. I just think it's going to be, that's too big of a task for him at this point. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about Texas A&M, but they don't really have a whole lot of a reason to play other than being a pushover. They've got to play UGA, and then the week after they play us, they've got to play LSU. Now, this is really interesting because it's a great litmus test for both of these teams. Hopefully, Georgia has managed to figure out what to do with its offense so that we can be better prepared when we play LSU. So LSU's last game of the regular season is against Texas A&M, and Texas A&M, again, is not a pushover. But they're probably going to be a little bit beat up after having played against LSU. Now, in the past 3 games, they allowed Mississippi State to score 30 points. UTSA, whoever that is, they allowed them to score 14. And South Carolina, which is a dumpster fire meets train wreck, only scored 6. From playing these lower tier teams to playing Georgia, they've had Georgia circled, and they were probably looking past South Carolina, which we did that and it didn't work out. But they probably looked a little bit past South Carolina and go, oh man, we got to play Georgia and LSU, the number 4 and the number 1 ranked teams in the country. Jimbo Fisher is not an idiot. He knows how to play good quality football, and it's gonna be interesting. I don't even know what the spread is on this game right now, but I can tell you Georgia should not be favored by any more than 10 points. Our offense just has not been able to create the kind of offense that we did early in the year. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the offensive play design scheme, I just don't know. There's no reason that Georgia should be able to open up gaps like we did earlier in the season and not be able to do so now. Georgia should be able to score 35 points on any team in the country, but for whatever reason, we struggle. So Texas A&M, Kelly Mond, running quarterback, that's going to be a big problem for them. Georgia's defensive front, in case you don't know, they're out of 5 guys, 4 of them are 5 stars, and the other one's a 4-star who's ranked so high he can 15-5 last I looked. Yeah, that's too much, man. That's way too much. That's way too much. I mean, Auburn only beat them by 8. Clemson only beat them by 14. So are they saying that Georgia's got a better offense than Clemson? I don't think so. I don't know. That number's ridiculous. If you're betting football, do not bet this game on 15.5 points. I mean, I know our defense is good, but you basically have to say Georgia's going to shut out Texas A&M. That's what you're saying. You did, yeah. I can't believe you guessed that either, and I don't know why you didn't call me and tell me either. Why you didn't message me on that, man? I could use a jersey. You got to take a picture. You got to take a picture of you wearing that jersey, man, and post it on YouTube, man. That should be your new profile pic, man. You don't have to put your face in it. Just a jersey. Okay, so let's jump over here and let's talk about Clemson a little bit. All right, so I give Clemson some sand here and there, but Clemson has started out the year looking pretty good. And then they kind of had a little bit of a lull when they played against UNC. And I really think Clemson caught a whole lot more flack. Hey, what's up, DeAndre? Don't worry, sir. I will be loud and proud. Don't worry about that. 13.5, that crazy? Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah. Somebody said Heisman push, can Justin Fields make a late push? He ought to be the front runner, man. That guy's setting school records left and right. Is a true freshman? Yeah, and the line is 13.5 now. I can't believe people took 15.5. That's crazy. So I think when Clemson had a bad game, they escaped UNC, and that made everybody look back to the Texas A&M game where they only won by 14. And all their other games, they're putting up 40 and 50 points, right? So in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, they've allowed 10, 20, 30, 40, 44 points in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 games. So they're averaging about 8.5 points a game at the most, I would say. Man, they're gonna go into South Carolina. They're gonna blow them out, and then they're gonna be really rested and freshly ready to go to play against whoever it is that they play. Which I don't even know who is in the SEC. What's going on, Brian Adams? Man, I've had let's see, I've had DeAndre Swift, I've had Brian Harrion, I've had Jake Fromm, I've had Dan Mullen, I've had I think I've had Muschamp in here, or was it no? I've had Gus Malzahn's been in here, and a few of the other guys. They all call me up and ask if they can get on, and I'll let them get on because I'm nice like that. So. I think Burrow Heisman is in his hands. It's up to him to lose it. Well, we'll see. Clemson's gonna demolish South Carolina. They own South Carolina. They have owned South Carolina for I don't know how many past games. The record is completely one-sided in the past 10 years, I think. But they've definitely been picking up steam. You know, their last 4 games, they've scored over 50 points. In 2 of those games, they scored 59. So the offense is absolutely on fire. They're going to play whoever they play in the ACC championship, which I don't even know who it is. Maybe it's Louisville, or I don't even know who it is. But they're going to play those guys. They're going to dominate them, and then they're going to be sitting there in a college football playoff bracket going, dee-dee-dee, who do we play now? The only ranked team they've played all year is Texas A&M. That's it. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're not getting a whole lot of accolades. And we'll just kind of see what happens with it. So if we jump over to, let's take a look at LSU a second here. We'll jump into Ohio State. Both those guys have still only played 10 games. Believe it or not, Clemson's actually played 11. And one of the things I also want to bring up, I'm not sure, but it's got to be a factor. I just don't know how to measure the factor. That 5 out of the last 6 games we've played, those teams have had a bye week to prepare for UGA prior to us playing them. So how do you measure that? You know, I mean, that's given those guys considerable time to prepare for that game. It just is. Did Malcolm Parrish stop by and apologize for 22-6? I don't think so, Dennis. I predict the LSU versus game in the SEC championship. Well, let's look at LSU real quick. So LSU has pretty much been dominant all year. Their closest game, and all teams have these every year. Georgia just lost this game versus where other teams are winning this game. So Clemson had a game where they survived by 1 point against UNC, and then LSU had a close game against Auburn where they survived 23-20. That's really close. So they started out, their first game was 55-3, and then they played Texas 45-38, and they looked really good in that game. Then they played Northwest State 65 points, Vanderbilt 66 points, USU 42 points, Florida 42 points, 42-28. And then Mississippi State 36, and then Auburn 23, and then they scored 46 against Alabama. So what it looks like to me is that from the Florida game, they were already looking forward past Mississippi State and Auburn at Alabama. They kind of got punched in the mouth. Hey, what's up, Kirby? How about them effing Dogs, man? You are welcome here. I don't know who's doing that, man, but you're one of my favorite people, man. So, you know, Alabama sitting. They won that game against Alabama 46-41. There was some shock and awe there, but they played both of those teams really close. And then they went out the next week after playing a rough game against Alabama and beat the brakes off Ole Miss 58-37. So to me, this is a solid team. LSU has Arkansas coming up this next week, which they will absolutely crush them. They're just going to mollywop these guys. I mean, Arkansas has had a bad season all season, continuing to have a bad season. I don't even know what their record is at this point, but it's not good. Arkansas is 2-8 and 0-6 in conference. The matchup predictor gives Arkansas a 1.3 chance to beat LSU. LSU is 98.7%. Kirby Smart don't pull another 4th and 11. So, and let me backtrack just a second to the Gamecocks. There are fans that are actually trying to get Will Muschamp fired. Who are you gonna get? Nobody wants that job, man. I'll tell you what. Why don't y'all roll over there to old Rocky Top and ask Tennessee fans how they feel about getting rid of a coach who's doing as good as Will Muschamp is. Will Muschamp beat Georgia this year. That's something that nobody else really is likely to do out of 132 teams or something like that. It's just not likely to happen. Just not likely to happen. So anyway, I think LSU's defense is suspect. They have allowed a ton of points from a lot of teams. Dwayne says, "Hi Kirby, why are you so conservative on offense?" Gus Bus, man, Gus Bus. So what you're looking at, I think that Georgia has a legitimate chance against LSU. The reason I say that is because I point to the Auburn game. Auburn held them to 23 points. Which means Georgia, which their offense was out there trying its tail off. Georgia's offense went out there and should have had 28 points on the board, but we had another stupid penalty, calls back a touchdown. Yeah. It always amazes me. I never have any Auburn fans in the channel, ever. I don't know why. I don't know why. So I think that Georgia has a legitimate chance here. I think that when the LSU game comes out, I think that LSU will be favored by way more points than what they're going to score. I think Georgia can win that game. So however many points they're favored by would be irrelevant. But if I was a betting guy, and if it said something like LSU by 14 or 15 or 13, especially if it said 13, I would probably pick that up. But that's just me. Do what you want to do. Oh, man. So now I think the only one I have not talked about is Ohio State. So let's talk about Ohio State a second. Now, for all of you out there who are familiar with Justin Fields, yes, Justin Fields came from Georgia. Yes, Justin Fields went to Ohio State. And it was not because Georgia did not or could not understand what talent they had in him. He just didn't fit what Georgia does. He went back to Ohio State, which is a play scheme that he grew up with in high school. He's familiar with it. He knows it inside and out. Ohio State has a very good record. Iceberg says he's a Georgia fan. Die hard, but I think LSU will win. Well, really, all Georgia has to do to win that game is continue to play defense the way it's. So what you're saying is you believe that LSU is going to continue to play offense the way it plays. And if you believe that, then I would say you got to believe Georgia's going to continue to play defense the way it plays. And if you believe that, then you got to find somewhere in the middle. I don't believe that LSU's defense is as good as Georgia's defense, and I don't believe Georgia's offense is as good as LSU's offense. So the question is do you really believe defense wins championships? Because if you do, you've got to say that Georgia's probably going to go out there and manage the game just like they always do and move forward and probably get 25 to 30 people, 25 to 30 or 24 to 31 points, and we'll win that game. If we can hold them to 21 or under, we win. Kirby Smart says, smart people on the comment section. Dondarian and Brett, how's DeJuan Mathis doing? Any update? Praying for the home state guy. There's really nothing right now other than he's just recovering. He hasn't been cleared to play, so we're waiting. I think he's been out there throwing around, but he hasn't been cleared for hard licks, and it's probably going to be a while before he does. Mark Dudley, me and my buddy are going to the Michigan OSU game next week. Oof. If they put DeJuan Mathis in a game right now, I would probably lose my mind. I really would. There's no need to put that guy in a game at all. Let him get healed up. Let him get better. Let him come back next year. We've got Carson Beck coming back. Tree Fitty. You got to say it right, Jaleel. You can't say 350 Fitty. You got to say Tree Fitty. Georgia's offense is what's up, Patrick O'Connor? Georgia ain't holding LSU to 21. Well, that's when we play the game, sir. We got to find out. A lot of people didn't think that we would hold Florida to what we did, and a lot of people didn't think that we would almost shut out Auburn, but we did. So then there's that. Name one top 10 offense Georgia has played. Name a number 1 or number 2 defense that LSU has played. They haven't. So, so now you're comparing apples to oranges. He's been practicing, just no contact, haven't been clear yet. I think he's really slept on. He shows flashes of G-Day game. Yeah, he was looking incredible in the G-Day game. So according to Patrick, every team that Georgia has played, because Georgia has beat them, that team is now a fraud. So let me ask you this question, Patrick. By your own comment here, you're saying that Auburn is a fraud, right? If Auburn is a fraud, then why did LSU only score 23 points on them? And how did Auburn score 20 points on LSU if Auburn's a fraud? Help me out there, sir. I'm just messing with you, Lil. You my man. Patrick here trying to troll. Man, I deal with trolls on the daily, sir. So LSU is a fraud. Is that so? I want you to type, if you think LSU is a fraud, Patrick, I want you to type LSU is a fraud. Please type that for me. And after that, I want you to tell me who your team is. Colin Cowherd. UGA's defense will keep them in the game and play. You name one team. The SEC will be the best offense UGA's facing. Will be. Yep. Keith is correct. Let me look at their schedule. I bet one had an off week. Yeah, guess what? They also had an off week when they played Georgia, and Georgia beat Auburn better. They beat Auburn better than LSU did by a bigger margin. They shut Auburn out until halfway through the fourth quarter. LSU did not do that, sir. So by your own volition right there, by your own comment, that doesn't even make sense, man. So you're saying Georgia's a fraud, Auburn's a fraud, Florida's a fraud. I guess Notre Dame's a fraud too. And man, I can't keep up with your FBI tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, sir. It eludes me. Where is... Well, I mean, Georgia, 5 out of the last 6 games we've played, the teams before us has had a bye week. So if your bye week is that important, then that just makes Georgia look that much better. If you put that much weight in a bye week, then you've got to add that times 5 against Georgia. Sorry, man. So there's this other guy I want to talk about. Let me go ahead and pull this up. So let me play this. Let me pull this up. So here's something that just popped up. For those of you who don't know, this popped up today. Oh, Nick Saban, message retracted. Somehow that is correct. All right, so there is some talk that UGA is going to lose Jake Fromm at the end of this year. Maybe not. I would not say Go take a look, dude. I'll be here when you get back. Um, there is some talk that Fromm may leave. I don't know that his NFL stock would be less or greater. He gets rave reviews from talent, scouts, and commentators and guys that have a lot of experience about how well he manages the game. He manages the game like a pro would. So I don't know. I just don't know if his NFL stock would go up or down if he played next year. If he wins the Natty this year, I bet you money he's gone. But if he doesn't win the Natty, he may come back. Who knows? So because of that, there is some concern inside of the UGA recruiting issue here. This popped up, and I'm actually going to put the link in the chat for those of you who want to read it. So let me get this over here. This right here popped up today, and I read it. And this guy is living in Nevada. He was originally from Georgia. He's going to come back to UGA as a walk-on redshirt freshman. Now this is going to be like 5 quarterbacks at UGA next year if Jake Fromm comes back. So you got Fromm coming back. You're going to have Carson Beck, who's going to be here. You're going to have DeJuan Mathis. You're going to have, I don't know if Stetson Bennett is going to be here or not. I'm not sure about that one. And then you're going to have this guy. His name is Austin Kirksey. Now, Austin Kirksey went and played for in Nevada. He's coming back to be close to his family. They said they're sad to see him go. He's a great kid, straight A student, awesome young man, loves his family. He's from Marietta. So in his junior and senior seasons at Marietta, Kirksey is a 2-time first-team all-region selection, and he threw for 4,732 yards and 36 touchdowns. He did this in 2 years now. 2 years he did this. This is what he threw. What's up, buddy?
I feel like I'm dying.
You're doing too many sit-ups, man.
I did 461.
Good Lord. What's wrong with you? You juicing like them Clemson Tigers, man? Get out of here. Man. So he threw for 4,732 yards and 36 touchdowns. Here, watch this. Here, I'm going to put this in the chat too. You ready? That's what he threw for. That is freaking incredible. But wait, just like Billy Mays would have said, there's more. He also rushed for 809 yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. Now, it may be lagging. I wouldn't doubt it if it's lagging. It's probably because I was looking up this other stat here. Yep. I'm giving it a second, see if it'll catch up. Just stand by, guys. Hopefully it'll smooth out here in a second. I don't know. I guess it's not gonna fix itself. We'll give it a few minutes. Yeah, it might have been that link, dude. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully you guys can still hear me. If you can still hear me, let me know how the voice quality is coming through. If the voice quality is coming through okay, then I'll just roll on along. Anyway. I wouldn't doubt it if it's lagging. It's probably because I was looking up. All right, seems like it was lagging. It seems like the lag is one thing, but the voice seems to be coming through okay. So we're just gonna push forward. It looks like James Coley was actually recruiting this guy heads up. This guy's a 3-star, but he's a walk-on, so it doesn't go towards our recruiting rankings. It doesn't go towards our scholarship. It doesn't go towards our scholarship count. So, I'm okay with bringing this guy on, giving him an opportunity to learn some stuff. Let's see what he can do. So, yeah, I don't know if it's how much better it is. Maybe it'll get better. I don't know. Anyway, this guy coming on board, it's going to be interesting to see what this guy can do. I'm really excited to see what Carson Beck can do, but all of that is just kind of down the road from where we're at right now. Since the stream is getting so bad, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I did want to get into some of the stuff that's going on with Ohio State, but we can always get into that later. It's not a big deal. I want to tell you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We are dangerously close to 2,100 subscribers. I think I set a goal for 15. I think I set a goal for 1,500 at the beginning of the season, and here we are at 2,100, and we still got 2 or 3 games to go at least. I really do appreciate you guys tuning in and sharing the video, because that's really what helps the stream grow. Is when you guys share, because it allows it to. It allows the video to get to places. It allows the content to get to places that I normally don't traffic or can't traffic, because I'm just not in that circle. So if you guys would share the video when you get an opportunity to, share it on social media, share it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Facebook groups, whatever you guys are in. If you would share it, that would be incredible. I'm gonna go ahead and allow that last one, Connor. Could get fugly. I ain't heard that word in a while. Do I think another year with Fromm is going to take us to a national? I don't know. Obviously, Jake Fromm has proven that he has everything he needs to do that. I think it's more of the offensive coaching and the offensive play calling that's caused the problems, and that's what we need to get fixed. So, it's just the way it rolls sometimes, man. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. I really, really do. This thing's kind of taken on a mind of its own, and it's been awesome to watch happen. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. You guys have a great day. Have a good night, even. God bless. Go Dogs.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you